All right, so this is the next part for chapter 15 in your Blue Pharmacy Practice for Technicians book. We're picking up on slide 13 for professional attributes and practices, so personal conduct. Personal phone calls, texting, and visits by family members, friends, whoever, are only allowed during breaks. So the biggest thing that we see an issue with our externs, and one of the biggest feedbacks we get from our extern sites is that our students have a hard time putting their phones away. So here's a couple of main reasons why it's important to make sure that your phone is put away and you don't have your phone. Distractions. If you are trying to talk on your cell phone, text on your cell phone, you're very highly apt to make a error. The other thing is that we are surrounded by patients' protected information. You cannot be taking pictures of those. You cannot be doing videos that could potentially have that information in the background somewhere. These are things that can get you terminated very quickly, and also lawsuits brought against you. So one of the agreements that you sign as part of your externship is that you will not have your cell phone on you. You will put it away in your locker or wherever they have you put your personal items. And that there it'll stay until you take your lunch break, and then you leave for the day. Any off-color jokes or derogatory comments are not acceptable, especially when you're starting a new facility or a new place of work. You know, you don't know what people's personalities are, and telling these type of jokes or making any type of these type of comments can get you slapped with harassment, discrimination. The least you could offend somebody, and they're going to report you. So just don't do it. Don't let your personal life interfere with your work performance. So it goes back to that old saying is, whatever you're dealing with, you leave it at the front door, you go in, you do your job, and you pick it back up when you leave. Now, there are going to be certain circumstances where that is not possible. People are going to be dealing with deaths in the family and divorces and things like that are very emotional, and you are going to carry those with you, but just do your best to make sure it's not affecting you while you're at your job and while you're performing, because the least distractions you have, the less risk you are at making any type of errors. Make a healthy lifestyle choices. That's part of personal conduct. Making sure you get enough sleep, not going out and partying the night before, going to bed at 2 a.m. and having to be to work at 6 a.m. in the morning. Probably not a good idea. Exercise regularly. Take breaks at work. So you are entitled to your breaks. Depending on how long of a work day you work is how many breaks you get. Be wise about food. If you're loading up on a bunch of carbs and sugar during lunch, you're going to have that crash halfway through the afternoon, and it makes it hard to do your job. Avoid excessive alcohol. Many people don't realize that if you excessively drink, the next day you can smell it through your pores. Okay, you can smell that sweat coming out. And again, if you're drinking till 1, 2 in the morning, going to bed for a few hours, going into the work next day, you could still have a pretty high amount of alcohol in your system, which is going to impair your ability to work properly. Cutting caffeine. Now, I can't speak to this too much because I drink a lot of tea, but, within reason, and then obviously avoiding any illegal drug use. Being attentive to your customers. So you want to always make sure that you're using a courteous tone. Even if you're having a bad day, that's not your patient or your customer's fault. You need to make sure that you're using a courteous tone. Smiling is inviting. Smiling allows them to come and approach you and ask the questions that they need to. Make sure that you're making eye contact. If you are not making eye contact with somebody, they are not going to feel like you're listening. Make sure you're providing a listening ear. And how you do that is that you're making eye contact, you're listening to what they're saying, you're repeating back the key points that they're saying, you're asking open-ended questions if you're not sure exactly what it is that they're looking for or what it is that their problem is. You want to always assist in finding merchandise. So I highly encourage my students all of the time, if you're working in a retail setting and you have someone that comes up to you and says, where is the ibuprofen? Instead of saying, oh, I think it's down this aisle or that aisle, come out from behind the counter, walk them over there, walk them to it. Holding the door, something as simple as holding the door. If you're coming in or out from your shift, coming in or out from break, Be courteous, hold the door for your customers. Offer assistance to customers. Don't wait for them to ask for help. If you see someone searching around for something, or if they're standing there kind of with that look on their face that they want help but they're not sure, you approach them. How can I help you? Is there something you're looking for? So as pharmacy technicians, you're going to be juggling a lot of different demands. The important thing is triage. So you want to prioritize the tasks that you have to do and determine which ones need to be done first. So for example, you have a situation of customers waiting in the line, you have phone calls or phones ringing, and then you have stocking the shelves. What are the priorities of that? Your customers in waiting in line, they're coming first. Typically they have other people answering the phones, okay? You can answer the phone and ask them to hold. You can help one customer physically in the store, have the next person wait, answer the phone, okay? Take turns. Stocking your shelves should be the last thing you're doing if you have a line and your phones are ringing. Acknowledge each customer's presence or request for a service. I'll be right with you. Thank you for waiting, when you're finally able to help them. The pharmacist can also prioritize and delegate, so they can take a look at the whole situation and say, I've got 3 techs, I've got 1, okay, you, John, are going to be on the drive-through. Kelly, you're going to be at the front, handling all the prescriptions and checking patients out, and then Bob, you're going to be on the phones. Gathering information from customers will help you prioritize. So again, asking open-ended questions. If you're not exactly sure what it is they're asking for or what their problem is, you can ask those open-ended questions to make sure you're getting all of the information you need. Speaking clearly. Don't mumble, okay? Speak up. Also be empathetic. So common phrases of courtesies. You had an assignment on this. May I help you? Thank you. Have a nice day. May I help whomever is next? Not who's next. Okay, it's just very rude. If you've been into any type of retail establishment, whether it's been a store, a restaurant, or whatever, you look for these common courtesies on how you're being treated. It's the same idea in a pharmacy. Learn the names of frequent customers, and that's okay, and ask them, would it be okay if I called you Mrs. Smith? And they're going to say, oh, call me Sally. So as you see Sally coming in, hi Sally, how are you? You here to pick up your prescription today? It puts a personalized touch on their experience. Nonverbal courtesies also matter. So again, making eye contact. And then when you're giving your eye contact to your patients, you're making sure that you're giving them your undivided attention. If you look distracted or you look like you're being bothered, they're not going to trust you. They're going to feel like they're getting a very poor customer service experience, and they're not getting the one-on-one attention that we are obligated to give them. So your telephone courtesies. When you're answering the phone, you're going to make sure that you're identifying yourself and the pharmacy or the place that they called. Every place will have a different requirement of how you answer the phone. Walgreens requires their technicians to identify if they're a pharmacy technician or to identify if they're a pharmacist. Not all places are the same. Some places, like a compounding pharmacy, may say you have to answer the phone as, thank you for calling so-and-so pharmacy. This is Sarah. How may I help you? So it's just dependent. They'll let you know in your orientation process. Begin and end the conversation with a courtesy. Good morning. Thank you for calling. Okay. If the call should be referred to the pharmacist, you're going to place that caller on hold, but you also want to let them know that you're placing them on hold for the pharmacist. Don't just click and put them on hold. Okay. Questions that involve professional medical judgment. So anything that's clinical, anything that involves that professional medical judgment, that is out of our scope of practice. That must be referred to the pharmacist. If the patient is requesting a refill, make sure you politely ask for their name, their date of birth, or even their prescription number. You also want to provide them with an approximate time that the prescription refill will be ready. Okay, that gives them an idea of when to come into the pharmacy. Sometimes they're going to ask for it to be done a lot sooner than you're anticipating. Try to accommodate. Okay. Depending on state regulations, pharmacy technicians cannot likely take new prescriptions over the phone. In the state of Arizona, no. Pharmacy technicians cannot take new prescriptions over the phone, and pharmacy technicians cannot take prescription transfers. And what I mean by transfers is the patient used to be a patient at Walgreens. They want to have their prescription transferred to Fry's. That is a pharmacist to pharmacist only conversation. Pharmacy technicians cannot take new prescriptions or transfers. Medical emergencies and prescription errors. So if there's a medical emergency, or you have a patient that calls or comes to the counter and there's a prescription error, you must alert your supervising pharmacist immediately, and they will take it from there. Pharmacy information, such as the address of the pharmacy, should be accurate. You know, if you have a patient calling, where are you located? You're giving them the correct, accurate information. Be patient with others, and also be patient with yourself. So this is the last slide we're going to do. We're going to end on slide 20 because it's going to segue into tomorrow's assignment. So sensitivity to diverse populations. So cultural competency is huge. It's awareness of and respect of cultural beliefs that are different from your own. We live in Southern Arizona, and we have tons of different cultures here in Southern Arizona. We have different cultures that believe in different religions. They speak different languages. But at the end of the day, we are servicing all of these patients and all of these customers. Knowing more about your patient's culture will help you provide a higher quality service and shows that you care. So if you notice that you started having a patient come in who's moved here from a different country, and they're routinely filling their prescriptions at your facility, you may want to seek out being able to get them patient information sheets in their language that have all of that can accommodate them. The pharmacy technician should be sensitive to different attitudes about medical care and try to overcome these barriers. So there's different things that you're going to run into. So for example, if you work in a hospital pharmacy, there's a religion, the Jehovah's Witness religion, that they do not accept blood transfusions or blood products. And some medications like albumin, immunoglobulin, these are blood products, and their religion does not allow them to accept these types of treatments. We have to respect that, okay? Even as difficult as it is sometimes, even if it's the only life-saving measure that we have for them and they're refusing it, we have to respect that. It's important that every patient feels comfortable and receives the correct information. So we want to treat our patients exactly the same across the board. You wouldn't be too happy if it was your mom or your dad or your child or your relative that went to the pharmacy and maybe they didn't speak very good English or of a different culture or religion, and they were treated poorly. It's just not acceptable. Receiving the correct information, that's our responsibility. If we needed to get an interpreter on the phone, maybe we have a pharmacist that speaks that language, maybe we have a technician that speaks that language. We want to seek out these resources to help our patients, to make sure that we're providing them not only with the best quality of customer service, but also quality of care when we're providing our prescriptions for our patients. So we're ending on slide 20. Be sure to call or email me if you have any questions.